All right, good afternoon, everybody. Uh, just wanted to make a little video about this whole Kanye West situation because I'm just seeing a lot of very interesting theories on social media. So I just wanted to weigh in and say what I think because I think some people are just going crazy on this. Like, it's just, I guess it's kind of on both sides because what Kanye West said was ridiculous, but there's more to it than that. So basically, I just wanted to kind of give my thoughts on it, see what you guys think. But you've probably seen me tweeting on it. Even though Kanye West is not my responsibility, Kanye West is Felicia Killing's responsibility. I want you guys to know that. So Kanye West questions you can ask me, but you really need to take them to her because he is her responsibility, not mine. So I don't even know why I'm making this video, but who cares? So you guys know what Kanye West said whenever it was the other day during his press conference / semi meltdown in South Carolina, whatever that was. And he basically said some things about Harriet Tubman that were pretty ridiculous. You already know what he said. He said Harriet Tubman didn't free the slaves. She just got them to work for other white people, basically. Now, the funny thing is that he clearly said something ridiculous, but there are so many people out there trying to make it sound like more deep or more woke than it actually was. People are acting like, he was trying to criticize Harriet Tubman, which he did. He did insult her. But when I'm looking at that, I don't think he was doing that intentionally. I don't think he meant to malign Harriet Tubman. I'm pretty sure if you were to ask him, he'd tell you that he has a lot of respect for what she did. He was trying to make an overall point that I do think is valid. But this is a case of making a very good point in a very crappy way. So after he made the comment about Harriet Tubman, he's... I'm sorry, I'm trying not to laugh. So after he made the comments about Harriet Tubman, he basically went into what, black people are going through today. He was talking about how, there's no black ownership in the NBA and in other major companies, and talking about how black people don't have the level of economic influence that we should have. And there are a lot of reasons for that. But I thought that he was getting into a really good point. And I actually wish he would have stayed on that a little bit more, but we're talking about Kanye West here. But I think that he could have really opened up a good conversation on that. But then he also went on to issues with how companies market to us, how they use algorithms to influence us, and how they, really to influence us to buy what they want us to buy, and how they push certain content to certain demographics and all that good stuff. Again, another valid point, because this actually does happen, and there are conversations on this and how much of a role it should have in our society. So two really good points, two really valid subjects, but he messed it all up by bringing Harriet Tubman into the situation. Harriet Tubman has nothing to do with whether or not Black America has more influence over the economy, more ownership in the economy. She has nothing to do with the lack of generational wealth that was caused by slavery, Jim Crow, policies like redlining, and a lot of other stuff that the government has done, and people even outside of the government has done in the past that still reverberates into today. So those are excellent points, but she has nothing to do with that. So it did come off like a criticism of her, because what was she supposed to do? Free slaves and then get them into generational wealth and build on that? No, that wasn't her role. That's not what she was there for. She couldn't have done it. She couldn't have done all that. You can't lead expeditions to get people off the plantation and into the North or into Canada, and then also try to somehow set it up so that Jim Crow doesn't happen. It was a ridiculous statement. And so, but what I don't get is why people are trying to make him sound like this was such a deep sentiment that he expressed. Like he's just some kind of guru that is just on such a high level that we can't fathom that. There are people out there saying that. Some are joking around, some of them are trolling, but I'm sorry, that's bull. That's BS. It's not true. Kanye West was talking out of his ass and he said something stupid. And then he also made some good points. That's all it was. I don't really understand the need to make it seem like it's something that they're not. Like I saw a video with Anomaly and with others saying, oh, he was talking about mental slavery. Now, whenever I hear the word mental slavery from the right, that's a red flag to me. My ears perk up because people on the right are very obsessed. Not everybody on the right, but a lot of people, especially the pundits, they're very obsessed with the idea of mental slavery. I think I think there's a validity to it. There is a such thing as mental slavery. One of the problems that I have with it is that people on the right use this to say, well, mental slavery means that you vote Democrat. And I know they do, because you know what they say about black people, because black people vote 90% for Democratic candidates. So people on the right look at that, and then the way they respond to it is by pretending that black people are under mental slavery to the Democratic Party because they don't vote Republican in any meaningful percentages. Now, obviously, that's ridiculous. I've debunked that myth over and over again, and I'm not the only one who has debunked it. There are plenty of reasons why black people do not vote for the GOP, and it has nothing to do with mental slavery. So I think that's just a term that we bandy about a lot, just without really thinking about it, and we just apply it to whatever. And so in Kanye West's case, they're saying that he was talking about mental slavery. If you read what he said, if you listen to what he said nothing about mental slavery. Nothing that he said even had anything to do with that. Now, he may have said some other things that had to do with mental slavery, but this wasn't it. I think people were just trying to shoehorn one of their favorite narratives into something that he was saying so that they can act like he was talking on some deep level. Now, here's the thing. I mean, if you're going to talk about mental slavery isn't just voting Democrat. Really, in my opinion, you're a mental slave if you blindly believe what the media and your pundits and your celebrities and your politicians tell you without questioning it. You just kind of just take it in because basically they're telling you what you want to hear. Here's a hint. If I can predict what you're going to say in response to a point that I make, and I get it right like 95% of it, there's a chance that there might be some mental slavery going there. And I say might because, again, I don't like to use that term loosely. To me, it could be indoctrination. That's a word that I'm more comfortable with using rather than mental slavery, because I think a lot of people can think. But, I mean, you've heard me say it. I mean, there are people who just don't have minds. I mean, Michael Malice says this quite a bit. Like, he's a lot more harsh with it than I am. But there are people out there who just don't have minds. So they're basically just regurgitating what they've been programmed to think. So it's always important to differentiate between the two and to not just go so quickly to mental slavery just because it makes you feel superior, which is why I think that a lot of people love this whole mental slavery trope. Basically, it's one of the reasons why the term red pill became so popular, because the notion was that if you were a Democrat and then you finally see that conservatism is the better way, then you've taken the red pill and you've woken up. Or when you realize how the Democratic Party and the far left progressive establishment lies to you, that's taking a red pill. No, that might be taking half of a red pill, but you're not taking the red pill if that's the only conclusion that you've come to. When you realize that the corporate media in general, on the right and the left, has an agenda that they're trying to push through their reporting, whether it's honest reporting or dishonest reporting, that is the red pill. That is when you know that you can't, that is when you finally realize that both sides have an agenda, and the agenda is to keep certain people in power. So, in my estimation, we shouldn't be calling anybody mentally enslaved if we just blindly believe what somebody on the right says without questioning. And it's hard because a lot of the people who haven't really woken up to this will get mad at somebody like myself, or somebody like a Sonny Johnson, or James Chief, or Roderick the Reeds, people who I podcast with, when we make certain points and it's not always favorable to the right. When they get mad, you can see the emotional reaction. They're not really responding with logic. When somebody has to pretend that you said something that you didn't say, that's cognitive dissonance. They're responding from emotion. When they dodge a question that you ask, chances are it's cognitive dissonance. Now, sometimes it might just be just an honest mistake. Maybe they didn't understand what you were saying. You always got to be able to tell a difference. But if you ask the question a couple times and they're not answering it, chances are they're avoiding it because they don't want to answer it, because it means that they have to think about something that they don't want to think about, because it causes cognitive dissonance, which can literally cause physical discomfort. Scott Adams talks about this a lot, but there are a lot of other people that talk about that as well. But basically, the point that I'm making is that don't be so quick to just try to, like in Kanye West's case, there was no real reason to try to defend what he said about Harriet Tubman. Two things can be true at once. Kanye West said some stupid shit in that press conference, and he made some great points and opened up some good topics for discussion. Now, without the whole Harriet Tubman thing, I think that would have resonated with people more. But now people are just defending Harriet Tubman because he insulted her. Again, I don't think it was intentional, but he did say something disrespectful about Harriet Tubman. So that gets the attention, rather than the fact that Black America doesn't have as much ownership over the American economy as we should. People aren't talking about the fact that corporations use the internet to influence us into buying things what they want, but also to try to shape what we believe. I wish he would have gone more into that, because then that might have actually related to mental slavery, but he didn't. Again, he's Kanye West, so I think he understands a lot of these issues on a certain level. I actually do think that Kanye West is an intelligent person. I would bet all kinds of money. If I had $1 million, I would bet $1 million that if he made those points in a song, it would have been a lot more profound than it was when he was standing up speaking, because that's how his mind works. He's a musician. He's a rapper. He's a lyricist. He knows that. He knows how to do that. So if he would have put that into like a song, or even like a freestyle, even like a spoken word, I think we would have gotten his point a lot more better, a lot more effectively than when he just speaks off the cuff, because honestly, he's not good at it. He's not good at giving an impromptu speech. He ends up saying silly things, just like the president, although the president is more polished with it because he's been doing it for longer. But I think, first off, if Kanye West is not running for president, I don't care what anybody says. Yes, I know he's trying to get on the ballot or whatever. This is something that he's doing to market, which I respect. Get that bag, dude. I mean, because Kanye West will do positive things for the Black community with the money he makes. He's already doing it. So I'm not mad at him at all for what he's doing. But if you think he's actually running for president, I've got a bridge to sell you in New York. He knows that there's no chance that he's getting on the ballot and to really do much of anything at this point in the election. Now, if he goes in 2024, maybe I'll take it seriously. Maybe, depending on what the climate's like and what he's doing and how he's handling it. But basically, we don't need to idolize people just because they're famous. We don't have to make excuses for them. We don't have to say, well, this is really what he really meant. Well, I'm going by what he said. And in context, what he said about Harriet Tubman was jacked up. Now, if that's not what he meant, 48-hour rule, right? Has he clarified it yet? Maybe he has. I don't know. I'll keep a watch on it. If he clarifies it later, then I will go with his clarification. But I think he did this thing on what, Saturday? So I guess it's the last day. So if he doesn't clarify, then I'm going to go with what he said. So I think it's just, we've got to, how do I want to put this? We need to look at these things. We need to look at these things rationally. We need to use our brains. I know we always talk about facts over feelings and whatever, but I'm just saying, a lot of the people I think that are trying to make it sound like he had this really deep statement, I think that's emotions over facts. He made some good points. I wish he would have drilled down on them more. But again, it's Kanye West. I don't think he has the level of knowledge to be able to go deeper on that. He said himself that he doesn't really read. I know he watches videos, but I mean, that's kind of frustrating for me because Kanye West is an intelligent man. Imagine what Kanye West could do with his message if he just got a little bit more knowledge, got some more people around him to educate him more. Maybe he doesn't like to read a whole lot. Maybe he can listen to audiobooks. Watching videos isn't a bad thing if he's watching videos, but it's like he needs people around him to be able to give him more context to what he's saying, because he gets a lot of these principles, he understands them, but he doesn't know how to articulate them. And it's like, and I can't remember who said this, but you know, there's a saying that basically says, you don't really understand something if you can't explain it. So the best way to make sure that you understand a concept or a principle is to be able to explain it to somebody else in a way that they understand. Kanye West is not very good at doing that. Just to be honest, he's not very good at explaining what he's trying to get across. He may have it in here to a certain extent, but he doesn't have a solid grasp of the issues that he's talking about. And, going back to his comments on the 13th Amendment, he wanted to abolish the amendment. Why? Because it has that provision for slavery. Well, the way you deal with that is not by abolishing the entire amendment. You get rid of that part of it, or you amend that part of it. You can do another amendment to it that abrogates what was said in that 13th Amendment, or there's other ways to change that, but you don't have to abolish the entire amendment. But he at least understood the idea that slavery is still enshrined in the Constitution, or at least in the amendment, when it comes to people who are serving time. And that is unjust. I don't agree with that. So I think it's just important to analyze what people say by what they're actually saying. I know sometimes people use hyperbole, and I always hear the phrase, take them, like with Trump, take him seriously, not literally. There's times where you can kind of interpret and extrapolate based on the context of what's being said. But, I mean, if somebody says something silly, even if you like them, it's okay to point that out. I don't dislike Kanye West. I like Kanye West. I used to listen to his music back in the day all the time. I don't listen to him much anymore, but I used to listen to him. I liked him. Even when he was arrogant, even when he took that mic from Taylor Swift, I still liked him. But I can like him and still say, yeah, you said something stupid though, dude. It's okay. It is okay to say that. It doesn't mean you're demeaning him. It doesn't mean you're demeaning his character. It doesn't mean you're hurting him. You're just pointing something out. If anything, you're helping him, because if he actually sees that and sees the feedback, he might be like, oh, maybe I should rethink what I said about Harriet Tubman, or maybe I should clarify what I said, and so that people know what I meant. Does that make sense? I think that makes sense. All right, so that's it for today. Let me know what you think in the comments. Hit me up on Twitter or leave some comments there. I'll watch them. I'll look at them and I will respond. But be sure to subscribe. That's the most important part. Subscribe. Hit that bell. I need more subscribers, and you want to subscribe. And please share this video, and get other people's feedback too. All right. Well, you guys have a wonderful Monday.